functional medicine specialist. I'm the co-founder of Rev Health. And I'm really excited to be having this conversation today around food, especially around the holidays.
Amazing. Should I go? Okay, I'll go. I'll jump in. So I'm Skylar Weir, and I'm the registered dietitian or director of nutrition at Rev Health. And obviously, I'm excited to chat tonight about food because this is my area of expertise, and really excited to talk about it in a more positive, more palatable, and just really proactive way. Really, yeah, tonight's gonna be good.
I'm Julie, and I am the other co-founder of Rev Health. And Skylar, this was really your idea even last year because so many people have complicated relationships with food around the holiday and complicated relationship with family and friends and just the season in general, which doesn't often pair well with healthy eating habits, or just being stressed about eating and food and gatherings. So I'm really glad we're doing this. And oh, well, we're going to see whether or not I can actually scroll. Why? Why? I have to go old school. Here we go.
No worries.
Can we see the screen?
Yes.
Yes. So I'll start us off. Yes, the holidays can feel a little bit of like a supercharged experience for some. There's a lot going on during the holidays, whether it's we are traveling, and so that's kind of hard and stressful on the body, or maybe we are exposed to certain family members that maybe are triggering for us, or we're attending like so many different holiday parties. We're just a little bit out of our routine. And so sometimes food and just our nutrition can be a source of tension around this time. So I want to
Yes.
just ask everyone to just take a moment to kind of think about your individual experience of food during the holidays and what words come to mind to describe how you feel. Do you have tendencies to not be super mindful? Basically, just kind of dropping into your body and just reminding yourself, like, yeah, what words come to mind? How does my body feel during this time of year? And if anyone would like to share, happy to hold space for that.
I feel, as I was tapping into my body, I feel very excited. And I also feel like I cannot be as mindful. So I'm noticing kind of these like two different parts of myself that are existing at the same time.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, as you know, there can be two truths at once where it can be a very exciting time where, we're maybe off work a little bit and we get to kind of like relax and we're around foods that are maybe more of like our traditional family foods, foods that maybe you only see once a year kind of thing. But that can also lend itself to maybe not tapping into the present as much sometimes, where we just kind of lose track of things. Or maybe you're so tapped into the present that you kind of forget about like, what are my health related goals? Like, what are the strategies and interventions that say you've been set up with at Rev Health? And are we just kind of abandoning those because we're getting lost in the moment?
Yes, I think we have a lot of people who are actually kind of off, for the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
The extremes are
Hmm.
not the greatest. And I think
Yeah.
that's like Matt, even what you were saying, it's like I feel the extremes. Like
Mhm.
going to the events and really excited about the events and looking forward to that and seeing people and wonderful foods and dressing up and RSVPing and also kind of this guilt of like sometimes I just want to be indoors hanging out with my dog and not feeling like it's just another day next Thursday,
Mhm.
but it's not. It's got this loaded expectation.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the next
Yeah.
slide, start walking us
Yeah.
through a little bit more on, okay, how do we actually drop into more mindfulness? So how can we, really enjoy the experience and maintain that presence while also bringing in some mindfulness to it? So really entering, say you're like, you could even kind of picture yourself like, all right, I'm walking into my family's Thanksgiving extravaganza. What are the steps I can take to feel more mindful? So, really focusing
Hmm.
on grounding yourself at first. And this can start with something as simple as rating your hunger and fullness level before you even get to the event. So, this usually requires, again, dropping into the body, doing some sort of a body scan, kind of acknowledging, okay, what was I doing earlier in the day? Is my stomach growling? Like, am I too hungry going into this event? Or did I do a decent job at kind of pre-nourishing myself? Even something like naming the textures that you see around you at whether it's like the buffet table of the appetizers, like, oh, I see something crunchy on that veggie platter, or oh, I see something sweet. Looks like someone put out a dessert. Really just like naming things can help us bring us back into the presence, smelling things, looking at the sights. You can do this out loud if there's like a trusted someone that you have by you, or you can also do this in your head. So it can be an experience that you kind of hold to yourself as well. Also, really
You mean
connecting.
you walk into a party and say, "Hey, let's start naming all of these foods." It could work, actually.
It
It could be an
could. It could be
icebreaker.
that. Be like a funny little pickup line. Who knows?
Exactly. That might work for people. What is the
Yeah,
texture that you are most gravitating to on this
yeah,
table? This
yeah. Are you
bounty.
sweet, salty? Yeah, who knows? Yeah, really another tactic, or I shouldn't say tactic, strategy I use a lot with my clients is really plating your food. So, really getting into the practice of how can I connect with the food that's on my plate and actually how it's feeling in my body. And something that can happen a lot
Mhm.
at these buffet style or like kind of like grab and go small plate type of situations is we start just reaching for the food here and there. And before we know it, we've lost track of how much we've eaten. Our brain literally can't visualize what it's actually needing to digest. So, a very a powerful strategy you can use is get into the practice of I'm going to plate this food and I'm going to visually take it in to understand, okay, what do I have on here? I have some cheese, I have some crackers, I have some veggies, I have some fruit, I have a little bit of dessert. Like, okay, that's pretty balanced. That's like got everything that I kind of want and need. Also, setting an
It's,
intention can be really
oh,
helpful.
sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. Uh, Going in with some sort of a plan. So reflecting on like, how do you want to feel at this experience? Do you want to just be so present and allow yourself to like taste all the flavors, but you don't want to walk away feeling like overly full, overly stuffed? So setting that intention of, I'm going to allow myself to enjoy all this food, and I'm going to also allow myself to feel when I need to, not go back for thirds, or maybe I'm okay with just having a first round, not go back for seconds, sort of thing. So going in with a plan can be really powerful.
Yeah, I like what you said on the slide before too, and it seems like being present, right? Like
Yeah.
really connecting with your food instead of, I mean, we all see people going to the buffet or all the foods are there and there's 15 different dishes and they're just throwing it all on their plate without even paying attention. But when you stop and you connect with it and you're putting it on this beautiful plate and really thinking about it, I bet you would put less on the plate and only need one go around maybe. Or two, no judgment, but
Yeah. Yeah.
think more about it.
There's no right or wrong. And that's why it's sort of dropping into like, well, what is the experience that you want? Like you have full autonomy in this. So yeah.
Full autonomy. Oh boy, we were talking about this. We've talked about this before. And nerding out on what is going on when you don't eat all day and save up your calories.
Yes. Yes. So I'm going to get a little bit sciencey here, as you all know I like to do. So this I'll basically walk us through like what's happening in each of the different organs and just body systems when we enter this state of more restriction or low blood sugar. So this is a common coping mechanism I see where some people around the holidays they skip eating all day to save up for a larger holiday meal later. This is probably more common on Thanksgiving than it is like Christmas, but it can certainly occur just during this season especially. So I think understanding what actually happens in your body when you don't eat enough and when you go these long periods without skipping, then it can sort of help us wrap our heads around maybe why that's not the most helpful approach. So, um, when our intake is too low or we're just not eating enough, whether that's from skipping the meals, cutting out entire food groups like carbohydrates, relying on tiny portions, or simply just being too busy to eat, our body interprets that as like a threat, essentially. So it's because staying alive is the body's number one job. So it kicks us into what's called a sympathetic overdrive. That's our nervous system. That's our fight or flight response. Where you might feel this, like sometimes when you haven't eaten enough or you've gone long periods of time, you get a little bit edgy. That's that like hangry feeling. So that's that fight or flight response kicking in. So, what happens in our adrenals, so on the left side of this diagram, when the body senses this drop in blood sugar, the adrenal glands release adrenaline and cortisol. So, these hormones are meant to help you survive. They're not to help you feel steady and calm. Adrenaline and cortisol, they raise our blood sugar very quickly, so it's efficient, but it comes along with certain side effects, things like shakiness, irritability, anxiety, brain fog, cravings, even. So this is often why when you hear people describe feeling hangry or on edge, sometimes it's because they haven't eaten enough or they haven't eaten in a while. And then our pancreas. So the pancreas is what tries to keep up with this stress-driven blood sugar spike that might be happening after you hit a low blood sugar. So once the adrenals have kicked in, told your body to raise your blood sugar, then your pancreas is like, I gotta produce a bunch of insulin now. So over time, this roller coaster, it makes your energy or this roller coaster response makes our energy feel really unpredictable. So we might feel these like really high highs, these really low lows. And this is actually sometimes when someone's in a chronic state of restrictive eating, it can mimic insulin resistant like symptoms, even in people who are otherwise healthy. And then our liver, which we always want to give our liver extra love. So when you're underfueled, the liver steps in by breaking down stored glycogen, which is basically like a storage form of energy for our body. And that makes new glucose from scratch, even, or it can also make new glucose from scratch. So this
Um,
is more like we want to think of this as an emergency backup system. It's not a sustainable plan. We don't want to always be tapping into our stores. So, we want to be cautious of putting too much pressure on our liver, essentially. And then even looking at our skeletal muscle. So when you're chronically underfueled, our muscles can temporarily become insulin resistant. So this is protective. It's the body saying we need to save up our glucose for our brain, but the side effect is feeling really drained, really weak, or if you're trying to do some sort of an exercise routine before you go to this big holiday meal, you're just going to feel really tired and drained. And then even moving on to our fat cells. So our adipocytes are what's seen in this diagram. So they begin a process called lipolysis, which is the act of breaking down fat to make more materials, essentially to create energy in the body. And again, this is helpful in the short term, but it's stressful if it's happening too often. So we don't, while like entering into a fat burning zone sounds really nice for some people. It can be pretty stressful on the body when we're relying too much on that. And especially this is seen to increase like nighttime hunger or nighttime cravings. And then our kidneys. So, again, we want to show our kidneys some love. They do a lot for us. And the kidneys actually activate what's called the I always pronounce this slightly wrong, so I hope I get it this time. The renin-angiotensin system. This can actually raise our blood pressure, and also in turn, it's going to elevate some of our stress hormones even more, and then shift the way that you actually retain or excrete sodium and fluids. So, this is why sometimes not eating enough makes us feel dizzy, dehydrated, headachy, or feeling even this like wired but tired feeling. So, the big picture here to wrap it all together is that going really long periods without eating, it doesn't really create control in the body. It actually puts your body in a state of panic. So your physiology is it's having to work overtime just to keep your blood sugar from crashing. So when we fuel consistently, something like every 3 to 4 hours with a mix of our carbs, our protein, our fat, our fiber, then we're keeping our blood sugar stable. And when our blood sugar is stable, the nervous system calms down, our appetite cues become more clear, our energy becomes more predictable, our cravings become less intense, and the whole body really shifts from this survival mode into more of a repair, recovery, regulated mode. So we want that versus what I was
We love the
explaining.
science. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just amazing how much your body does
Yeah.
to keep us all in a regulated state and protect us and make sure that, yeah, if it goes into survival mode, like look how many amazing actions there are there in place for it. But if we can approach this with more intention, more planning, we don't have to put our bodies in that position.
Exactly. Yeah. And now that we've talked about what happens during that low blood sugar phase, let's take a second and zoom out and just look at what happens with blood sugar swings or this roller coaster. Um, that we've all likely felt before. So we have cognitive, emotional, and very physical effects when we're experiencing these blood sugar swings. So, cognitive, when our blood sugar is bouncing up and down, the brain actually feels it first. So, glucose is the brain's primary fuel. So, even small dips can lead to difficulty focusing, again, feeling really foggy, or we're like struggling to make decisions, even. A lot of people describe it as just feeling off or like their brain has slowed down a step. And interestingly, this is why underfueling can even get misinterpreted as ADHD symptoms sometimes, or poor motivation, or just like not being productive, when really our brain just needs more energy, more stable energy. Emotional effects, so things like obviously irritability, anxiety, even abrupt mood swings, just feeling overwhelmed. These aren't your personality flaws, as someone may have told you, especially among holiday mayhem. They're the body's alarm system, basically trying to get us to eat. So when blood sugar drops, our stress hormones rise, as I explained previously. So, what might look like moodiness, it's just a survival response. So, the more that we can regulate and try to exist more in that green zone instead of this roller coaster action, the more emotional steadiness we might have as well. And then the physical signs. So we covered a few of these, but like that shakiness, that sweatiness, dizziness, headachy, just classic signs of a crash. They're uncomfortable, but they're also really informative. So using it as information to then react on it. Of, okay, how can I bring more stability here? And on the right here, really just these are some, again, some interventions you can take action on how we can shift more towards this stability and structure. So, really engaging in structured eating pattern throughout the day, not going long stretches without nutrition, meals built around protein, and then making sure that we're also including healthy fats, fiber, and colorful foods and more complex carbohydrates. So things that are slower to digest in the body will help you maintain a more even blood sugar curve and regular movement and exercise. I think this shouldn't be overlooked. We're going to talk a little bit about that later in the presentation, but it's really stress management too, and stress plays a large role in blood sugar fluctuations. So any sort of movement you can intertwine throughout your holiday season, it's going to help with your mood as well as just making your cells more responsive to insulin and helping your body flatten that roller coaster.
Perfect. Hangry. It's an actual thing.
Yes, it is scientifically proven. And I'd like to
Oh,
just present this graphic to, again, just like reiterate that this isn't really a willpower issue. I think I hear a lot from clients I work with, like, I have such terrible self-control around food, or I have no willpower around food. And typically it's because there's this background of extreme approaches, meaning they're engaging in some sort of a diet related behavior. So, for example, like you're convinced that carbohydrates are the enemy and that they're making you gain weight. And that's the reason why you're gaining weight. And so you engage in this really extreme approach of, I'm not going to have any carbohydrates. Okay, so maybe you have some short-term success with that. You feel like, okay, I'm like feeling less bloated, whatever it might be. But quickly your body figures out that, oh my gosh, we're not getting something that we actually really need. So it's feeling biologically deprived. This can lead to more of those like willpower issues you might be feeling where you feel like you binge then on carbohydrates the next time you're around them or have access to them, or you lose control over it. And then you feel a lot of guilt, a lot of shame about that. Maybe some body dissatisfaction creeps in. So you enter that cycle again. You're like, oh, it's definitely the carbs that I just binged on. And you are in
yeah.
this continual cycle. I think a lot of us have been there before. And the way to stop the cycle is to first have compassion with yourself. First and foremost, we're only human. And then zoom out and recognize, like, why am I engaging in the diet related behavior in the first place? Like, what's driving that? So really getting to your why, and then trying to invite more balance in. So a dietitian's favorite word is balance, but truly that's at the core of so much. So yeah, hopefully we can relate a little bit to this graphic.
Oh, yes.
I love how you, Maddie too. I mean, it's like in traditional Chinese medicine.
Yeah, balance is the name of the game. It's so
Hmm.
important. And yeah, it's really interesting. The correlation with TCM is that our kidneys are really responsible for the emotion of fear. So just even talking about like what the different organs had different functions was really interesting that, the kidneys in Western medicine too are a huge driver of this fear response and the stress response and how that plays into cravings. And yeah, it's all just so interesting. I can see, I mean, I've been in this cycle. Skylar is well aware, working with me and my own dietary behaviors that you do see the short-term success. And it's so important to have someone who can mirror to you, where your brain will try to find logic in the situation. And someone who just has the experience to say, let me offer you a different perspective is just really invaluable.
Yeah, yeah, love that.
Compassion. Oh,
Yes, it always starts with compassion. Yeah,
That's right.
which leads us actually nicely to this slide. So, making peace with all foods. So, how do we do this? First of all, we start out with the concept of approaching food more neutrally. So, really acknowledging that it doesn't have morality. Food is not good, it's not bad. It offers us different things. Pumpkin pie offers us something nutritionally speaking different than the turkey on the table. Pumpkin pie doesn't have a lot of protein in it. It has more fat, it has more sugar, it has more carbohydrates. Turkey has protein, but they're both food. So really just trying to approach it as like, okay, this pumpkin pie is not going to like reach out and punch me in the face. It's not bad. Where and the turkey's not, sitting there just being all good and proper. Like it's kind of silly when you start thinking about it from that lens of, oh my God, we're assigning morality to these foods when really they're just food and they do different things for us. They make us feel different things. They have different functions in the body. So really trying to like zoom out and again, just use this more like neutral lens. Also really getting in touch with what are the rules that I've created around certain foods and what are my preferences. So avoiding really trying to create these restrictive rules for yourself where you go into the evening and you're like, I'm not going to let myself touch the dessert table. Like, mm-mm. Like that automatically creates a lot of tension and rigidity around the whole experience. And chances are, like, you're gonna get around that dessert table, and once you've set that restrictive rule, you're gonna want it even more. Whereas if you would have just kind of gone in the evening a little bit more neutral and like, all right, like I don't know, like the desserts, it smells sweet, like kind of use those mindfulness techniques, like, oh, the pumpkin pie looks really like smooth. That may like be kind of like a nice thing to experience. And if you're hearing me say this and you're like, there's no way I can get to that point with food, like this doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice. And depending on like what experiences you've had with food in the past, this might be more difficult space for you to enter into than others. So again, have compassion for with yourself, recognize where you are in the journey, and definitely like giving yourself unconditional permission to enjoy your favorite holiday dishes if that feels right for you. So, again, like food is connection, it can be cultural, it can be all about like how you connect with certain loved ones in your family. And it's not worth giving yourself so much stress and tension to not enjoy like one evening with these beautiful foods that have been part of your family or friends.
You're also giving it a lot of power. Like if you say, I'm not going to eat dessert, now you've put it out there, now you're thinking about it, and the chance that you're going to go for it is higher because
Mhm.
it's you put it as a top priority
Yes.
whenever
Yeah.
you say something.
Yeah. I often refer to this as like we're putting that food on a pedestal, and you always kind of like want what you can't have. Like that's how humans work. So, yeah.
It is the way. We're
Mhm.
simple. It's hangry.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh, yes. Okay.
I like
So,
this.
yeah, I will never forget this quote that a therapist told me once where boundaries extend the relationship. Where you would think like, oh, kind of the opposite almost of like, I'm gonna set boundaries and therefore like they're gonna hate me or whatever it is. But actually, in moments, especially around the holidays, you'll hear a lot of like food chatter from people or like diet talk around you. Like this is really relevant going into like the new year when people are setting new year intentions, especially of like, okay, I'm gonna like starting January 1st, I'm not going to have any sugar for the entire month of January or whatever. And if you're someone who's really trying to like work on your relationship with food and eat in more harmony, then hearing these things can be a little bit triggering, or having someone comment on how much food you're eating or how little food you're eating or what you're eating can just feel really intrusive and not fun. So, what I encourage a lot of my clients to do is don't be afraid to set some boundaries with the people in your life. So you can also set some boundaries with yourself. You can communicate openly with those around you of just kind of being like, I like don't love when people just blatantly talk about or like make the subject so much about their New Year's diet plans. Like, can we talk about something more interesting? You don't have to do it in like a rude way, but just kind of hinting like, yeah, like let's talk about something like more interesting. You can change the subject, which is kind of what I just did in that last example. There's, more blunt ways to do it, or there's more subtle ways to do it. You can also just remove yourself. So if there's something really like
Yep.
triggering happening, you can walk away. Just be like, you know what, I'm gonna go get myself a drink, or I'm gonna go use the restroom, and then find another conversation to partake in. Be the example too. Like use positive language. So using positive language can be a form of boundary setting where you're choosing not to engage in the more negative boundaries that or the more negative talk that someone else might be engaging in. And then practicing just unconditional acceptance for the people around you. So sometimes it can be a helpful tactic or a way to set a boundary where you're like, man, I'm hearing this person talk all about how they want to lose 10 pounds in the month of January. And my heart goes out to them. You don't have to like say this to them, but you can kind of do this in your head where you're like, that must be really hard to be feeling like that tied to wanting to lose X amount of pounds or to have that like fear-based relationship with food or whatever it is. And sometimes that just helps like soften the discussion a little bit. So yeah, there's all kinds of ways we can set boundaries, but those are a few of my favorite.
It's so good. I think we
Positivity.
talked about this. Being positive. My
Yeah.
family thing, I don't know about you guys' family, but we walk like an hour usually after Thanksgiving dinner.
Oh,
And it
wow.
tends to always be cold in Boston,
Oh.
but it's so good. We forget how important it is for blood sugar regulation and also just having a conversation that gets movement begets movement. So maybe even doing it before, as long as you haven't starved yourself the whole day, if you've been eating your balanced meals or small meals throughout the day. I never recommend people work out on an empty stomach. I know some biohackers do that, but it's not very balanced. I never recommend it. And then I also tend to sometimes do it when I'm busy, but it always does end up backfiring. So if you can have the intention of I'm going to eat a small thing, even like, grabbing whatever snack. You guys have been really good about helping me. I'll do dates with peanut butter or something that's like really simple. Just get something in there, a nice big glass of water, go for a walk with my dog. But I think during this holiday season, so many people that I know are working themselves up one way or another that it's nothing is stable. So always coming back to that balance, whatever it is. Get a little bit of movement, have little tiny meals throughout the day, having what you want, having compassion.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
sleeping. We are all messed up from the time change. That is also science. It can take almost a month for people to get kind of back to a rhythm. And I was actually watching an Instagram live with somebody I know we all watch. And he mentioned he was going to bed at like 9 p.m. and I was shocked. He's like, to me, it's 10. I can't help. So starting now, it does regulate your stress hormones. When we wake up, when we haven't gotten a good night's sleep, and Skylar, you can speak to why this is happening from a scientific perspective, but we do immediately crave like high sugary foods or high fat foods. And I do think it's a survival technique. You had 2 hours of sleep and now you're trying to get energy in any way. And the first thing you're going to gravitate to is the thing you think your brain thinks has the most energy, which is usually the highest sugar. You gravitate towards it. You will find that chocolate bar. You will find, for me, it's like the Justin's peanut butter cups. They're done if I've had 3 or 4 hours of sleep. I will eat them before I've had my coffee because I'm trying to replicate some sort of energy and get it back. And then I'll crash an hour later.
Yep.
So
Yep.
we know that this happens. Yeah.
I
You
was
just
just gonna,
explained why it happened.
yeah, I was
Go,
gonna
sorry.
say, no, we covered that. That's good old cortisol doing its thing. Really trying to like cortisol has good intentions, but it's when chronically experiencing these cortisol elevations, or as Maddie's seen in some of our client reports, like we're not even enough cortisol. So certain things, yeah, they do matter. So yeah.
Yeah, and also when you're spiking your cortisol, you are less equipped to handle something that comes your way that might actually be a threat.
Mhm. Mhm.
We think about that too, or a demanding like travel. So
Mm-hmm.
traveling around this time of year, we all busiest travel. It's busier now and Thanksgiving than it is during the December holidays. And
Mhm.
if you look around the airport, I've noticed that most people around Thanksgiving tend to be really on edge. They woke up, they're stressed, they didn't eat, they didn't sleep there very well, waking up for an early flight. So having that compassion that Skylar just think every are dealing with something we don't know. But getting enough sleep every night. I know you guys have an unstable internet connection. I don't know why.
No, it's okay.
There, there's like 60 mile. I mean, I'm not actually exaggerating. I think it was 60-mile-an-hour winds in San Francisco in my neighborhood.
Yeah, it's been a
So that
crazy.
was fun. Like real threat. Like you have to be able to walk through that, right? That's a real threat. So you guys. Oh, I forgot I put this one in here, but we can kind of have, I know there was some Q&A. We will stop the recordings to make sure that people can get that. Anybody who signed up, I'm going to send Skylar your apple banana bread,
Oh,
which
yes.
I actually thought was this recipe. I put this in here, apple pie banana bread. We found it.
Skylar has the best recipes.
Yes. Oh, I love
And it was
this one.
gluten-free, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
All my
should
recipes
mention.
are gluten-free. Yeah, this one's really easy to put together. It's more naturally sweetened with those bananas, and obviously the apples add a little bit of sweetness as well. But yeah, you've got some good ingredients in here from almond flour, oat flour, all the things. It's also dairy free, I think this recipe is. Yes. So,
Amazing.
and it checks all the allergen markers if you need that. But yeah, it's a fun little fall twist on banana bread.
Oh, so good.
I want to make this actually for Thanksgiving because it looks like so fun. And I think that's the thing that maybe we can just, how to end this is I love that we did this last year. I love doing it this year. It's so important. Just understanding as we go into the season that it's supposed to be fun and waking up every day and taking note of like the beautiful decorations that are probably happening right now in your neighborhood and
Mhm.
laughing about how I mean, I love my neighbors put up like these life-size nutcrackers and my dog cannot handle them, like the actual, so it looks like the nutcracker, the ballet. And but it's so fun. And all the streets, one by one, are getting the lights. And so just being present and paying attention to all of the amazing things and the smells that are, coming from your neighbors' homes as they're cooking up their pies and their Thanksgiving dinner. And just if you are traveling or having stress, coming back to everything and remembering that the science is real. Like I love the fact that you explain this in such a beautiful way.
Yeah.
Like it's whenever you try to push anything in any direction,
Yeah.
backfires.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the body has these checks and balance systems in place, essentially. Like, we can't override them. We can try, but the body is very wise and it's a very methodical system and it's there to keep us alive. So, I think, again, like going back to that compassion side of things, is like have some compassion for yourself and understand that your body is trying to keep you alive. And so let's give it the tools and the resources it needs to do that.
Mm, so well said.
I love it. All right, we'll stop and have some Q&A, but thank you everyone for joining.
Oh, thanks for joining, everyone. Have a great holiday.
Oh,
Mm.
happy holidays.